Hi there, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear and see me okay. Thank you everyone very much for joining this webinar today of eliminating the costly rework on engineering projects. A couple of key bits of housekeeping to get us started today. So any questions, we've got two things. The Q&A function is what we wanted to talk through today. But if you do have any issues at all, audio or visual issues, come into that chat box and one of the IMECE team will be able to help you out. But I really do want to insist, any questions, chuck in the Q&A function box and we'll be able to answer those probably at the end of the webinar today, but feel free to put your questions in there throughout. This webinar is recorded today, so if you want the recording, we can send that across towards the end of the meeting. And in those who can't make it today, feel free to watch the recording in your own spare time. Closed captions or subtitles are available. Just on the bottom right of your box, I think you've got the option to show captions, and you can choose the language there, of course, as well. Hopefully, it picks up my dialect. Awesome. Well, let's get started. So, in this session, what we're going to do is cover a couple of key points surrounding the current project management landscape in the architecture, engineering, and construction space. We're going to delve a lot deeper into what a single source of truth actually is and why it is so important. I think it's a phrase you've heard quite a lot recently. And then I'll talk about how we can reduce this risk, delays, and rework by using technology to transform your information management and also use a bit of machine learning or AI to help out with that as well. Awesome. Well, let's get started. So, I think for a lot of people on this call, we're all mainly working with in what we describe as the AEC. So architects, engineers, construction firms, and workers. And what we're finding is that the global technology landscape is forever changing at a really high increasing speed. This is no different in the AEC, so architecture, engineering, and construction firms. As I'm sure you've all noticed with your own work, that technology is continually to rapidly evolve the AEC to make it become a safer, cheaper, and quicker space to work in. And it's no surprise that with everything going on in the world right now, the teams working remotely and hybrid and in the office environments, that it's becoming more and more difficult to actually access that project's information. AEC professionals, like all of you on the call, need to be able to rely on strong, consistent communication. This might take the form of pitches, winning clients, and day-to-day communication with your colleagues. The days are sadly gone, albeit limited perhaps, where you can turn around to that person on the desk behind you or next to you and ask your colleague for that help to find that email, for example. What this means for a lot of people is they don't have access to the right information when they need it, and they are left at the communication loop often on these projects. And as you can imagine, this is a huge issue, especially in our industry. There are over 347 billion emails, that 350 billion emails sent and received every day last year. Providing that emails is the most used communication and collaboration tool around the world, it's one of the most things that people manage differently in every single sort of way they people do it, and file emails is no trends there. One of these risks comes in the form of rework when emails aren't managed correctly. And a recent study found that 80% of project professionals spend about half their time on rework, and poor communication costs around $62 million on average each year. Reworks don't just waste your time and money, but also cause huge communication breakdowns within your project team and with your senior executives teams and also those stakeholders as well. So here at IdeaGen Mail Manager, we run an annual survey which aims to discover project management and collaboration challenges facing our industry and businesses globally. The report really tries to explore how firms manage information, where they store it, how they go about actually retrieving this data when it comes to facing legal disputes. So we surveyed around 550 AEC leaders and businesses from around the world, from roles being CEOs, project managers, all the way across the business, but mainly focusing on US, and here we are in Europe as well. So let's jump straight into those findings of that 2023-24 report. Firstly, the majority of firms cannot access information easily and readily available. We found that only around 10% of respondents were not concerned about accessibility and visibility and the project information. So we see that this is a big challenge for our industry, really. In fact, only I think it was around 2% of respondents never needed to retrieve emails on a past project. So a really small amount there to do something that we often think happens quite on a regular basis. Secondly, over a quarter of organisations are at risk when staff actually leave the business. So sadly, in our industry, there's a lot of turnover, a lot of staff turnover, people leaving and moving around very frequently. Our research has found that more firms are aware of the importance of filing emails as a part of that offboarding process when people leave the business than the previous year. In 2022, less than half the respondents, so around 44%, indicates that employees are required to file all project-related emails into a central location. In 2023, funny enough, this number actually rose slightly to 58%, which is always, of course, fantastic to see. But unfortunately, 28% of people we surveyed do not require emails to be filed, and then because of this, that information is then ultimately lost. Thirdly, disputes are continually to rise year on year, sadly. So in our 2021 research report, we found that 63% of respondents had experienced some form of dispute in that year. This number has actually risen massively to 91% as of last year. Project scope changes and payment sort of chasing continue to be the leading causes of these disputes. Considering the majority of project scope information actually resides in emails themselves and other formal documents, firms cannot sort of easily, and if firms can't easily access this, it's hardly surprising to find that companies are starting to dig themselves into trouble and get themselves into hot water. Finally, emails is still the most used communication and collaboration tool across the industry. So more than 4/5 of respondents reported that most of their project correspondence was via email. And only 19% of respondents actually use email for less than half their project correspondence. When asked about the business's actual reliance on email, so really focusing now on how much you care about it, how much you need email, 11% of people surveyed say that email is now business critical for their organization, with most people agreeing that reliance on emails has increased in the last 12 months. So for the purposes of the session today, we're going to be focusing on disputes, the disputes angle of our research, but I'll also be emailing her a copy of the full research report over the next couple of days for you to read in your own time. So getting straight into it then on the disputes angle, what we're finding is that they are starting to rise, as I mentioned earlier. So according to the World Bank, we are currently in the sort of second year of sharply declining growth. I think it may have changed in the recent months. We're actually starting to grow. And this tends to be because of the recent recession in 2009 and 2020 that we're all familiar with. In the AEC, we are starting to see these trends where costs are starting to rise. Margins are going to be tighter than ever, and there tend to be large staff cutbacks. So even larger global firms have reported a huge drop-off in profits as their staff costs are sadly increasing. So with so much uncertainty, I beg your pardon, so much uncertainty, and so many people leaving the business, there is a strong need for organisations to think about their email management. So how can you be sure that you can access all of your documents and correspondence if staff are to leave the business? So considering that 28% of businesses do not have an email filing process as part of their offboarding process, and 81% of firms use email for the majority of their correspondence, thousands of firms are at risk of losing really important information. Even more concerning is that 55% of those surveyed indicated, so just over half the amount of people we surveyed indicated they do not have any email management system or process in place at all. As I'm sure everyone on the webinar today has heard or read of that phrase, or probably hoping of that phrase, email is dead. It's definitely the case in our industry, and with the research we've done, these claims tend to be inaccurate. In 2023, 88% of respondents had indicated their overall volume of emails has actually increased in the last 12 months. So even substantiating that claim even more. This is a stark increase in the year before. The content of these emails are more important than ever. On top of this, almost 2/3 of AEC businesses regularly need to retrieve emails on projects. So most people need to find emails, and only 2%, yeah, so as little as 2% of people never having the need to actually find them. Over the last 3 years of doing these research reports, these numbers have actually remained steadily consistent, but actually also slightly risen in the last sort of 6 months, 6 to 12 months. Many of us can relate to not always needing to refer to previous emails. However, only 1 to 2% of that never actually need to do it. I think we've all had situations in the past where we need to go and find an email, but most people still need to do it. For many firms, emails and keeping them well organized and accessible is not really a consideration until something goes wrong. Since something happens where you need to find an email, it's business critical, it's locked away. Firms only really tend to organize things and make it accessible once things go wrong. And as you can see, as emails hold a lot of vital information, there could be the difference in winning and losing a dispute. So unfortunately, let's go on to the next slide. We're consistently starting to see that failing to make emails visible and accessible to project teams can cause issues as a result in that legal dispute. So according to Arcadia, so a big firm, global firm, funny enough, one of our clients, they found in the 2022 Global Construction Disputes Report that on average, the value of a dispute was about $52.6 million US. A massive amount there, and with an average length of 15.4 months. It's taking up a significant amount of people's time. And if you're an architect, an engineer, or a construction firm, that's just very simply money that's lost that you're then spending on trying to solve that dispute. So firms very simply cannot let information like email correspondence slip through the cracks. We've heard of this phrase, the leaky bucket of emails negatively affecting the AEC in recent years. Firms must be able to be aware, really, of their corporate history and be able to prove anything that has happened on projects, especially when the stakes are so high. So I know on this call, most of you are probably from the UK, if not in Europe, about the time zone. A recent disaster that had shaken the UK AEC industry was the huge fire at Grenfell Tower, where sadly 72 people lost their lives. This is one of the UK's worst modern disasters in recent history. I think some of you on the call today may not be based in the UK, but most of you, I'd say, will be. So a quick summary, there was a fire caused by an electrical fault that spread quickly due to really highly flammable cladding used in the building. In the inquiry, damning emails were uncovered indicating that certain parties were aware that the cladding material that had been used were actually in fact unsafe. But given the nature of the industry that you're operating, firms need to be able to guarantee information visibility and accessibility to ensure they are making the right decisions at the right time. So the best way of describing it, which I always use in my calls, is in the best cases, bad information management costs firms money in disputes. But as you see in Grenfell, the worst information management is actually in fact making people unsafe. So given the size of the global disputes environment and that number I mentioned earlier, so that 52.6 million, given the size of this, the cost of mismanaging emails is immense. And typically includes information, or the reason of it typically includes information being locked in people's inboxes, staff wasting time looking for information that they need to do their job, and staff leaving the business on holiday or just moving along to another company. But a range of important information is trapped in their inbox. With proper email management in place, however, and looking at the positive side of things now, with proper email management process in place, businesses can ensure that all project information and correspondence is captured and accessible to their whole project teams. This will reduce risks of rework and stop project disputes in their tracks, because you can find that email when the dispute straight away arises. I was speaking to an American colleague recently who said in the US, whoever finds the email first, whoever finds the information first, usually wins the dispute. But on top of this, you'll also have information on hand years down the line should a liability dispute actually arise. So that's been a quick overview of IdeaGen's Mail Manager 2023 State of the AEC report. As I mentioned earlier, we'll email across the full report and this recording after you in the next couple of days. If there's any questions at all, just get in touch. But what I want to focus on now is what this what this report, of information management actually means for you guys, and how can it help you avoid disputes and moving forward. So, luckily for us, technology advancements are continually improving the way we work and how we work in industry. As I touched on earlier, AEC firms are increasingly using tech to boost efficiency. So some of the examples might be VR, 3D printing, modeling. These are fantastic systems that can help identify errors before you actually get to that construction phase, for example. And BIM advancements means that team members can be all on the same page. The use of BIM has seen several benefits in the AEC recently, like reducing waste, improved collaboration, enhanced productivity, time savings, and overall increased technology adoption across the industry. So improving the safety across the industry, and it's also then improving or provides deep insight to the existing buildings as well. So with this new tech that's making our lives a lot easier and really boosting the industry, it's hardly surprising that it's harder than ever to access any project information. And to ensure that all teams follow that information management process. We all have access to a massive amount of information, both inside and outside of our organization. This information is often sensitive and confidential. Information typically is stored in documents and correspondence. And it can be quite often really quite inaccessible. I know I've said it accessible a second ago, but often it can be inaccessible, stored in different applications by various departments and often various companies as well. Information tends to be the lifeblood of any project work, but it's only when it's well organized, accessible, secure, and updated that the project runs smoothly. And this is no easy task. So, but I guess what is this solution? So, getting back to what I mentioned on the agenda here. You need a single source of truth, or a single sort of place where you can access all your project information and client information where it's stored, and you can have a complete picture of what's been said at any given project that you're working on any given time. So you need that single source of truth that is a digital record, securely created, updated, and accessible information covering the entire of a building's life cycle, including design, construction, and management. So that single source of truth provides better working methods and also encourages more transparent communication. This is also then helping organizations drive change faster without compromising quality, and ensures that all projects and client teams have access to the correct information they need when they need it. Managing project information in one place is critical to avoiding those disputes you mentioned earlier, and that rework angle as well. And when it's done right, it allows teams to use their time, resources, and knowledge to make the best decisions, the right decisions at the right time. So you might be thinking, everyone on the call here, you may be thinking this sounds a bit overwhelming. There's a lot going on here. How do I get this single source of truth? How do I get this idea working with my information? But luckily, tech is on our side. There are two easy ways to create a single source of truth. One is by removing that manual process of information sharing, and two, it's by increasing the information visibility across the board. So one thing to keep in mind, and I'll probably mention this phrase single source of truth a lot throughout this demonstration or throughout this meeting today. But one thing to keep in mind is that your single source of truth is not the truth unless it's fully complete. Simple as that. Then if you haven't got all the right information in there, you're not reading the same book, you're not singing the same hymn. It's not going to happen then. So what we've seen in our research report is while firms are stringent on how they manage documents and on how their contracts are managed, emails is often one of these things that is managed completely differently. I think if we did a poll on the call today on how do you manage your emails, there would be a very big split from everyone here today on how they are doing that. But with the right tools in place and the right automation, project teams are left to their own devices. Without the right project tools in place, project teams are left to their own devices. Some people will move emails into their own Outlook subfolders. Some will put them into project folders. Some will just put it on their own personal desktop. Some will just simply delete the information. But with all these scenarios, the information is trapped in silos and it's inaccessible for the wider project team. So losing access to essential emails or not including them in your overall information management strategy can prove detrimental to you guys as a business, but also the project itself. When emails are managed correctly, however, everyone in the organization has access to the right information they need to make the right decisions. It provides a much better way of working, encourages more transparent communication, and ensures that all the team members have the access to the right information they need. Plus, it removes the responsibility of storing and managing data from one person to the department. So it's time to avoid these common email headaches of this wasn't agreed, when did you tell us this, or so-and-so's left the company, so I'm coming into this a bit cold. Those excuses have got to be gone because technology is on our side here. So some of the benefits of a centralized sort of information environment includes your data becoming more discoverable, eliminating human error through automated workflows, establishing version control, reducing the amount of time being wasted on searching and accessing this information. But lastly, complying to regulatory and legal requirements as well. So look at that Building Safety Act, the golden thread as well. That's what technology can do with that single source of thread. And that's where we come in with Idea Gen Mail Manager. So you're probably all thinking, why are we talking today? And I'm sure not sure the company have heard of the firm Arup Engineering. For those who haven't heard of Arup is a global engineering consultancy firm that work and design engineering projects like a couple of ones you can see on the screen here. So we've got the Sydney Opera House and of course the Queen's Ferry Crossing in Edinburgh as well. So yeah, big engineering firm, globally based, but actually headquartered here in London. Arup decided to actually build this system, Mail Manager, about 10 years ago internally. The main reason why they did that was most of the reasons what I just said on the slides there. They had a real need to have these information accessible. They wanted to make sure they could go back and find out what had been said, what had been agreed on their past projects. So they'd ask people to manually drag and drop emails into their project folders centrally on their system. What they found is that no one was doing that. And that's quite often what we find is these manual processes of asking people to do things doesn't work. We're all busy people on the call here today. We don't want to spend a couple of hours a week on filing our emails. That's not top of our to-do list. So with that, when they had no one filing emails, they were being locked away in people's inboxes, really difficult to find, and people were just overloaded there. So they actually went initially to market. They just tried to find a simple way out here. How can we just pull a lever and we've got a system straight away that would solve this? Had a look on the options, really couldn't find anything that would do it for them. So they went complete other end of the spectrum and actually developed Mail Manager themselves. And that's probably one of the best things that I love about the system. It's been developed by a need and it's been developed out of a need as well. So they developed this purely for themselves to start off with. And then noticed that a number of firms within the AEC were also having these issues. So most of you, by the very nature of the name of this title, will be working in engineering. So I've included a slide here on some of our customers within the engineering team, or engineering space for you to have a look at there. But a couple of other ones could be Skanska Construction, Mace, Morgan Sindall, Gensler for architecture. There's a whole host of industries that we work with there and clients. What I wanted to focus on is specifically Ramboll. So Ramboll are a long-term customer of ours. They're a big firm, about 17,000 employees across the world. They focus on engineering and consultancy services across the Nordics and America and the UK. So for them, there was the large range of projects they're working on a daily basis. Before Mail Manager, their project email management process was manual, it was time consuming, and fundamentally wasn't working. It was inefficient, and no one was following that process. So what they needed was a stringent process they could easily implement and get everyone working in the same way. They wanted a way of working where emails were filed into a central folder where everyone can find it. So they'd ask people to manually drag and drop them, wasn't working. They came to us and wanted to find out more about Mail Manager. So they liked the fact that it was implemented one day and straight away you're going to see the benefits. Emails are going to be filed straight away into project folders. And they've rigorously tested for a couple of months and identified that this would increase the consistency across the business, but would also reduce the risk that a company was exposed to in regards to compliance. They then implemented it across the whole of Europe, Sweden, America, Australia, and have found massive benefits of reducing the inconsistency of filing emails, increasing the amount of emails that get stored centrally, but also increasing the efficiency as well. A lot of you on the call will be working on billable hours and you're charging out hourly rates. If you're wasting 2 hours on filing emails a week, or even more, man, in some instances, then those are billable hours lost, and obviously those are admin hours you can't charge to a client. Couple of other key case studies here I just want to very briefly go over. Procom Engineering, they've been using IdeaGen, Mail Manager with us for a while now. They wanted to meet their ISO 9001 certification goals by standardizing emails right across the business. They identified with their consultant that email management was a shortfall for them. No one was working in a consistent way, and there was no single source of truth. So we introduced them to Mail Manager. They found it fantastic, helped them achieve that accreditation, and got them to that goal. Niche Engineering, one of the firms who work in the US, they saved around $10,000 in storage costs and saved staff countless hours on working on e-discoveries and trying to find emails during disputes. And finally, Brighter Engineering. So for them, it was all about having all project communication in a central location. That means that everyone was on the same page in their projects. It's important to note here that with a single source of truth, we're not just trying to make your life easier when it comes to disputes. We want to make your life easier on a day-to-day basis. We want to make sure everyone can find what's been said on emails and what's been said on projects throughout the project life cycle, not just when it comes to a dispute. So for all these customer stories you've heard today, they all tie back to the 4 key issues we hear across businesses that we speak to on a regular basis. So they are concerned about the consequences that they may face if they do not find their information. They want to make sure that all the teams they are working on are not spending countless hours on filing each week or even searching for emails, not just when there's disputes, but let's say there's a project handover or someone's on a holiday. They want to be able to make sure that people aren't wasting time searching for those emails and those silos, going to IT, going to various people, calling people off holidays to try and find these emails. They didn't want any of that. And finally, also not finally, but on the next one, they're also wanting control. We speak to a lot of industry leaders, like some on the call today, and they tell us that we try and implement a process, we try and get people to file in a certain way. No one's doing it. We want people to drag and drop emails into this location, search this place. No one's following that process. And what they love about Mail Manager is we will get people to follow a consistent process. And finally, this probably all sums up in the last one of what the issue is really because information is being locked in people's inboxes. It's difficult to find. It stays in that one person's ecosystem and then becomes inaccessible. So with IdeaGen Mail Manager, we give our customers confidence that they can retrieve any email when they want to. A business can find an email in seconds. Your productivity will increase because people aren't spending time on filing emails. And finally, you will have that central space, that single source of truth that I mentioned a second ago, for all of your project information and helping you create and maintain that visible place to go to and rely on during a project. So what I wanted to do now, guys, is enough spiel from me and slides, to death by PowerPoint. I wanted to go on to a bit of a demonstration where I can show you all on the call today how this works. What you'll probably find this demonstration, it's a bit of a high level overview of the system, and for every company we speak to, they will use this in variously different ways. So if you are interested in the system today and you think, actually, that looks like the type of thing we need, or even if you just had some questions, get in touch and we'll organize a more in-depth demonstration for you and for your business. Let me just bring open my Outlook here. Cool. So hopefully what you can see here is my Outlook. What you'll see here at first glance, guys, is that my Outlook won't look too dissimilar to yours. Mail Manager just adds these set of buttons here to your taskbar. So nice, clear Outlook plugin here. And going back to my point earlier, this is what companies love. People love the fact this can be implemented in an hour and a half, and straight away you're going to be seeing the benefits of a consistent filing process and a good search tool. The main aim of Mail Manager is to get emails fired out of people's inboxes, whereas you said they're locked away. We want to get a copy fired out of your inbox and filed consistently for the whole team into a project folder centrally on your system. So we're not going to host the emails at all. We're never going to access them. So from a security standpoint, it ticks all the boxes. We're going to file them straight over into your project system. So that can be Viewpoint, Procore, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, file servers, you name it. Most systems we can file into that you're working with today. As I said, we want to file directly into those folders, but also provide you with a really good search tool here where you can actually find and access all of these emails through your Outlook in that single place. Now, in terms of the way we file emails here, let's take this email here from Zach. I can go to reply to it and go, thanks for the updates. This is where I spell everything wrong. The plans and please update the invoice. So quite an important email here that gets sent out. What we're finding is a couple of things might be happening. People just leave it there in their inbox once it's been sent out, don't think about it again. And then when there's an issue that comes up, no one go back and find it. On the flip side, you may find that people in your business are filing emails really diligently, and they're good use when it comes to email management, but they are in fact wasting a lot of time on doing that process. So with this system, as soon as you click send to an email, what you're greeted straight away here is with this prompt. Now, this prompt in the first part is going to tell you to file away an email. So it gets, as I said, that consistency up, gets everyone following that same email filing habit. But what it will also do, in cutting down the time even further, is predict a location for you to file into. So it pre-selects a location here for you. Big star, higher suggested, small star, least likelihood. You can see the locations here. The particular project that's selected here is the CapWest one. The reason why it selects these locations is based on keywords, so project names, project numbers, that sort of thing. But it's also going to understand your past filing habits and understand where you as a user typically like to file to. So it comes at that location there, click send and file, sends the email out to Zach like it normally would. And then what you're left with is the copy of that email, both sent and received, get filed straight away into the project folder centrally on your system. And then a copy that stays in your inbox in the exact same way it would do at the moment, but this time with an orange tag on it. So really quick adoption here, guys. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not changing the way your Outlook looks or feels. You'll still receive emails in your inbox in the same way. We just see a nice clear indication that email has been filed. And it's up to you what you want to do with that Outlook copy. You can delete it, you can forward it on, put it in your own filing environment, print it off, do whatever you want to do with it. The most important copy has now been filed to the project folder centrally in that single source of truth, where you can then use this search tool to access that golden thread. Similar process of incoming emails here. We've got right click, file email here, and we've also got the option to have a prompt open up once you view an email as well. Bit of a whistle stop tour on those couple of points there, guys. So there's lots of other filing methods and things I'd love to show you on the call today, but I think we may struggle for time. So as I said, if it becomes more relevant, get in touch and we'll organise a more in-depth demonstration. Now, obviously that files emails away, so searching for your own emails in your own Outlook stays the same. But what if you want to find a whole project overview? What if you want to have a look at that single source of truth, inspect it, and be able to access what's been said? With your system here is you have access to a search tool here that allows you to open up a filter where you can access any email within 2 or 3 clicks. I've actually already got that open down here. Most users will just leave it in their Outlook or leave it open because they're using it on a daily basis. For me, and for a lot of people we speak to, it becomes their main point of contact when it comes to finding email. Whether it's in their Outlook or out in their Outlook, they'll still use this. So I now have access to 650,000 emails, and most users who use the system have even more than that. What you've got here is a place where you can find emails that you weren't necessarily involved in. So you can see these columns here. Most of these emails I've never been involved in, but I can still find it in a couple of clicks. But to show you how this works, I'm going to give you one really key example. Now, we mentioned disputes earlier, and trying to find an email can be really challenging. Trying to find an email that proves your angle and proves your point of view can be even more difficult, especially when people leave the business or even go on holiday. Now, we had a situation a couple of years ago with one of our clients, Genzo. No dispute there at all. We sent them an invoice about 5 years ago, and the person who sent the invoice since then has left the business. So we had to find, just a picture of the scene here, we had to find an email that was 5 years old, that was deleted from an Outlook. Ordinarily, that takes a lot of time to find. You have to contact IT, they have to search archives, they're looking for small snippets of information. With this, you'll see in a second, I'll do it in less than a minute. So what you can do here is type in a keyword. Let's put an invoice. We know it was an invoice on the email. That now will bring up all of the emails that says that word in it. And it won't just search the subject line, but you'll see in a second, it's also going to search the contents of the email as well. So we'll see this here. Just wait a second. We've also got the option to just search the body and just search the subject line here as well. But you can see in this example, it's pulled up invoice 3 times in this particular email. I've still got 130,000 emails here, a lot to search through. So we can go into a particular project folder. So I can go into Fitzroy Street, that CapWest one we just filed to. In this example, let's choose Gensler. 250 emails. Let's say, yep, there are attachments on that email. I know there are. This column here, this column here gets populated, and then we can then use this search filter here to now search for keywords or key names, would you rather? So key names like Georgina, and I know here that she was involved in the email, that she sent or received it. We now have the whole chain of communication. So what's been said, who said it, why it was said, and that full audit trail of the conversation. Press this button here, and you can now open it up as an original Outlook email. It puts it in a format for you now to apply to as well. So a really detailed tool here to actually now not only find the email, as I mentioned, but also then reply to it and give you that accessibility that never before. As I said, a lot of the firms at the moment we speak to rely on people following a process, or they rely on IT to try and find this information. We want to take that onus off IT. If you're an IT manager on the call today, I'm sure you get very frustrated when people come to you and say, hey, can you help me find this email of so-and-so who left the business? Those days are gone with Mail Manager. You'll be able to save multiple hours a week on filing and searching for emails, but also when it comes to a dispute, you'll not only be able to find that email and avoid potentially millions, as we've seen in dispute costs, but you'll be able to avoid that time that gets wasted during e-discoveries. We speak to lots of companies who put all of their email stack projects on a hard drive, send it to legal teams, you then pay an extortionate amount to find your emails. With this, we'll find them in seconds. Let's bring back up my slides. As I said, guys, that was definitely a quick demonstration of the system. Just going over the key features here. If you've got any further questions, get in touch with us. We've got free trials, demonstrations that we can run as well. And we really want people to see the benefit of Mail Manager in their situation. So if it does look relevant, a trial can also be a really good option there. That's it from me today. If there's any other questions you had, pop them in the chat function. I'm going to open those up now and we'll get those answered. Let me have a look what we've got here. Fine, let's see it. So how does Mail Manager work with permissions? So the question here is always with permissions. When you've got a really detailed search tool, you often see that basically people are worried about people accessing emails they shouldn't be able to access. And they think, oh God, people are going to be able to find our emails on that MOD project or something like that. The good thing about Mail Manager is we've duplicated permissions that you've already got in place at the moment. So let's say, for example, you've got a project on your file system with an MOD, with the government, and only certain people can access that project folder. Exactly the same in Mail Manager. You won't be able to find the emails that are in a place on the system that you don't have access to. So we'll duplicate the permissions there. Next question here, I can see what happens with duplicate emails. Another really good question there, especially when firms are trying to save, cut down on storage costs and things like that. So with Mail Manager, we don't duplicate any email. It's as simple as that. We've got a system that saves a significant amount of storage space. It doesn't duplicate any email, only files one email at a time. So if you file up a whole chain of emails and the subsequent 10 before that have already been filed, it'll only save the most recent one. Next question here is what are emails filed through Mail Manager? Not quite sure. What are emails filed through Mail Manager? I think that may be the question in terms of what format here. So with Mail Manager, we only file into MSG format. That being said, we can search EML format. So if you've got a database full of EML emails, bit of a tongue twister that one. But if you've got a database full of EMLs, we can then index those emails and provide a search as well. Could you please summarize what the differences between Outlook and Mail Manager? Yeah, another good question here. I think a lot of the people we speak to are using Outlook. We don't tend to necessarily compete with them purely because of the fact we are an Outlook add-in. Now, everything we do with Mail Manager, you can do manually. We don't deny that. We're not you know, the right word in here. We're not giving you access to something you can't already do. What we are doing is making that process a lot easier. So with your Outlook at the moment, it's your Outlook. Only you have access to the emails that are within that. Emails that you want other people to find. You have to manually drag and drop into project folders. You want to manually drag and drop that into a single source of truth. That's a really time-consuming process. And often when you manually drag and drop them, you label them with whatever the subject line is. Now there's duplicates there. That then comes when searching for it, you're then relying on what someone labeled the email, which can be absolutely anything. We can start off talking about project A, then actually move on to project B, for example. So with this system, we're a nice, clean, tidy Outlook add-in, so it works alongside your current system, but also then files the emails consistently into a centralized project folder, removing the onus on you as a team, but also then with that search tool, you're never going to have to go into the project folder itself to find the email. We're going to search the emails that were inside that project folder for you and give you that quick access. Got another question here. What are the main filing locations that usually work? Yeah, good question. So obviously, a lot of people, of course, they'll be using a lot of different methods to store their information. For us, we work with a lot of different project management platforms. So Procore for construction firms, for example, ProjectWise, Aconex, I think it's another one on top of my head. Huddle is another one we work with, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, file servers. We work with a whole host of storage environments. If you've got a particular storage environment you want to know more about, get in touch. Let's organize a demonstration, and we can discuss that. We work with the MOD currently. We have a lot of sensitive emails that are being exchanged. I'm concerned that you may read these emails. Can you? Yeah, I totally understand the concern there, by the way. I think if I was in the same shoes, I'm not sure I asked the question, but if I was working on an MOD project, I'd be equally as worried. But the good thing is with Mail Manager, none of the information ever leaves your ecosystem. Everything goes from your Outlook, which is obviously your Outlook, that stays the same, and it goes straight to your system. Now that system, whatever you're using at the moment to store projects, it goes straight from A to B. It doesn't route itself via our servers. With the search tools, the whole system's stored locally in your machine. It's not a cloud-based system. It's all stored locally. So emails never come to us. We can never find the information. We can never access it. Purely because of the fact it's going from A to B within inside your habitat. It's as simple as that. Nothing ever comes to us. The only information we ever have is licensing details. Who's using the system at any given time. That's the only information we have. And that's what makes it a really good fit for a lot of businesses. I was speaking to someone not only this morning who said to us the reason why they love Mail Manager so much is security perspective. It's so easy to implement. It's so easy to tick those boxes because we're just putting it from one place to another. Got a question here again. So what are the main filing locations you usually work with using Viewpoint? Yeah, Viewpoint's one of the ones we work with. I think we mentioned that a second ago. How accurate is the filing prompt? Yeah, filing prompts really detailed. So the filing prompts and the predictions that we did, we usually say about 95% accurate. Don't get me wrong, the first time you use Mail Manager, it's going to take a bit of time there to learn your filing habits. Usually after 4 or 5 emails, it knows exactly where you're filing to. All you've got to do is agree with it. Now, the reason why we don't have a fully automated system, albeit it's something we're currently developing, the reason we don't have a fully automated system is we want it to be 100% accurate. We want to be nailed on every time this is where it's going. So with this system, we're going to be mostly accurate, and then if it's not the right location at the top, it'll be one of the other options on the list as well. Another question here. My query is how is this different from the powerful Outlook search function? Outlook already provides one that Outlook already provides. I appreciate IdeaGen provides structured filing system, but one can easily create inbox rules to auto file the system as well. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The only problem with Outlook rules, for example, is you're only filing to your own inbox, your own Outlook system. We're not filing centrally there. That's just going straight to your own. It's a bit like saying we're filing project documents directly to your local file, your local files. They're not going centrally where everyone can access them. They're not going into those project folders where everyone can find them. That's what we're doing with Mail Manager. That's the main difference. We're filing to an environment that's very difficult to file emails into. There is, of course, the way to do it with manually drag and dropping, but it's challenging. And no one wants to do that. But also when it comes to searching for emails, that Outlook search is good. It's really good at finding your own emails, but trying to find other people's emails, that's where it falls down. You can't search other people's mailboxes. You can't search the project folder centrally. And that's what we do with Mail Manager. We provide that search tool that allows you to retrieve emails that everybody's filed away to the central project folder. I hope that answers your question. Can you set permissions so only certain users can access emails with sensitive information? So, yeah, so with the permissions, nice and easy, we go off the permissions that are on your central repository. So if you can't access the folder at the moment on your central repository and you're trying to search an email that's within it, you won't be able to access that email. Now, if you want it on specific emails that are within that folder, the couple of options here is we can set up another folder, so a subfolder labeled Project ABC sensitive emails. You can file into another part of the system where that folder has restrictions, or you can just encrypt an email that only certain people can have access to that email. Nice and easy there. Can we try this tool for ourselves without any commitment? Yeah, absolutely. If anyone's got any questions on this system, get in touch with us. We'll organize a demonstration. We would help you set up that system as well, that trial. We run a 2-week pilot for quite a few users. It gives you the option to test out the system with no commitment. If you don't like it after 2 weeks, give it back to us and you're done. Most people will trial it and they won't want to give it up. But you absolutely have the option there to try it without any commitment. Got another question here. Does this product provide a mobile app for on-the-go work such as project site? Yeah, that's a really good question then. I think we're finding increasingly so, less and less people are working at their desks, which I think is probably a good thing. People are working on site. They're seeing people, they're face to face, and with that, they don't have a computer sitting in front of them. We have a mobile phone application that works specifically with SharePoint, Teams, or OneDrive that allows you to file emails directly into project folders essentially, and have that singly accessible location as well. So you can file emails on your phone. It prompt comes up, tells you to file them, but also you can search SharePoint folders as well. So let's say you're on a project and you wanted to find some specifications that's on an email. You open your phone, you're searching the project folder within seconds. Another question here. We use Deltek at the moment. We pay quite a lot for it. I was wondering if there's any key difference in technically and pricing. Yeah, so Deltek's a relatively good system. I'll always be biased and say Mail Manager is the better one. We've got quite a few case studies on companies that have come to us from Deltek. The email management part of Mail Manager is far more robust. It's probably the best way of describing it to Deltek. It leaves less room for error for the end user. So if you're managing a business, you're using Deltek, there's probably situations where people haven't followed that process. They haven't gone that button on the top right that says file away this email. With Mail Manager, we're always going to get your file away an email. we're also going to store the emails locally on your system, rather than with Deltek, which may store it in their cloud. We're going to store it on your system, so you're in control of your information, and it's all there readily accessible for you. And pricing, we're a heck of a lot cheaper than Deltek, so that's an easy one to answer there. Does Mail Manager have integration features with systems like Procore? Yeah, good question. So we do integrate with Procore. We integrate lots of other ones as well, guys. As I was saying, so like Viewpoints, ProjectWise, Aconex, lots and lots of systems out there we integrate. Procore is a really interesting one. A lot of these project-based systems, like Deltek, for example, are project-based first. They're looking at how can we get information stored centrally, like documents, letters, how can we do file transfers, lots of other things on projects. What they always forget about is email management. And they might hastily organize something for email management for that. Email add-in, like Procore, for example, I think it has an email add-in. They tend to be not very good. So Procore, funny enough, came to us and said, can you integrate with us? Can we set up an integration to strengthen our email filing into the system? We said absolutely, and we now integrate with Procore. I think that's probably it for questions, guys. I'm just going through them here. It's not the end. If you've got more questions, guys, whilst I'm going to end in a couple of minutes, there's lots of more time to ask you. Get in touch. Go to our website. I think it's www.mailmanager.com. It'll give you, put it on the next slide actually. There we go. Yeah, www.mailmanager.com. Gives you the option to download a free trial, get in touch and organize a demonstration. But also, if you just got a few questions, give us a call, send us an email, we can get those questions answered. I think all what's left for me to say today, guys, is thank you very much for your time in watching this demonstration, this session. And hopefully I'll be speaking to some of you soon in the coming weeks. So thank you.